I want to talk a little bit about dealing with Christian hate, aka love, or Christian hate, aka or Christian love, aka hate. Uh, um, yeah, if this is your first time to my channel, my name is Timmy Gibson, former fundamental evangelical tongue talking Holy Ghost rolling pastor. Did that for 30 years and spent 48 years as a Christian. I've been saying I've been deconstructing for about 6 years. Well, it's a new year. So it's now, I guess, technically 7 years that I've been deconstructing, reconstructing, and, moving past my formerly deeply held religious beliefs that Jesus is the only way. And everybody that doesn't believe in Jesus is going to burn in the fiery flames of hell forever and ever. That's mainly what I talk about uh, because that's what I know. That's where I come from, right? So, um, anyway, I was just thinking about this the other day, and so I thought, man, I'd just jump on while I'm going for my little walk and talk about this. And I think this will be, honestly, I think this could be a very helpful video for those who are uh, Christian, as well as those who, like help them kind of understand how they come across, as well as help those of us who are atheist, agnostic, or deconstructing, or asking a bunch of questions. Give us a little, just give us something to think about. And one thing, you know, if you're like me, because I was a Christian for so long, 48 years, that's a long time. And I know I don't look that old. Um, you know, I wouldn't, I'd hesitate to even say most of my friends uh, and are Christian. I mean, it was like all of them, like everybody in my sphere, everybody in my circle were fully devoted, followers of Jesus. I mean, they were all Christian fanatics, including myself, right? Despite what some of the comments below. You didn't really know the real Jesus. You weren't really a Christian. He must have not really known the Bible. Yeah, because I didn't see it the way you saw it. It's so laughable. Like, that's so interesting. Uh, I digress. But how do you deal with that, right? It's something I went through and had to, you know, learn. I mean, it was something I had to work through and figure out and navigate, because so many of my friends were Christian. Now, clearly, many of my friends were uh, cool people per se. When I say cool, I don't mean like cool. You know what I mean? Like, they were good people, right? And so for them, they were coming to me more, kind of saddened more than anything. They were sad that I wasn't going to be in heaven, walking on the streets of gold with them. Then again, that's their thought, right? I don't believe in heaven, don't believe in hell, and I definitely don't believe if there is a heaven and a hell, the way to get there is through a belief in Jesus. That's just, in my humble opinion, just ridiculous. I've said, I've talked about that in other videos, so I don't need to get into that here. But how to deal with that? One, you got to stay off the internet. You can't. You're not going to win anybody over through arguing online. I mean, right? You're not gonna help someone wake up from their delusion or their cult uh, via your quippy little quote on atheism or agnosticism, or your unbelief, or your questions, right? I mean, questions are good. That's I always say that the best thing to do is ask questions. That's definitely uh, an important piece. I mean, that's what helped me, is asking myself questions, as well as the questions of others who, not that they were atheists. I didn't have really any atheist friends that I knew of. I'm in the Midwest. Most people keep that on the down low. But they were definitely having concerns, just like I was. Much like the video I did on the number one reason I left Christianity. That's a that video is done pretty well, and I think it's just because so many people resonate with it and have wondered the same thing themselves. Like, how is that possible that everybody goes to hell? Even good, kind, caring Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims, and like, everybody's going to hell except for the Christian, the the true the true people, the Bible believers. All I can tell you is this: I really, my advice is not like I think I'm qualified to give advice, other than just my experience of how I handled and dealt with and continue. You read the comments. Many of you, defend me down in the comments, which I so appreciate. But you know, truth be told, it actually bothered me uh, pretty good when I was first uh, getting some of the hate and the uh, negative comments. And not just negative. I don't mind if someone has a completely differing opinion than me. I mean, clearly, all Christians are going to have a different opinion than I do, obviously, and that doesn't bother me. It's when people say, you'll find out on Judgment Day, which that doesn't bother me at all, because there is no Judgment Day. There is no rapture. Jesus ain't coming back. If Jesus did exist, which I believe he did, he was just a dude, and he died, and he's still dead. So he ain't coming back. Just like every other person that's ever died, they ain't coming back, except for maybe Lazarus. Oh, it's funny. I'm walking. It's called the Country Club Plaza, uh, close to where I live, and normally, right over here, there's a preacher. He stands there every weekend, telling people they're gonna go to hell unless they accept his God. Anyway, I've so many times wanted to go over and start a conversation, but there is no conversation you can have with people like that. I know. I used to be one. There was no shadow of turning for me, for sure. Back to dealing with love. So I can only tell you my experience. What I learned, and how I'm able to handle it now. One, I don't get into debates and arguments. I just don't. There's no point. It just aggravates me, or wastes my time talking about things that they're so entrenched in, and they're not going to turn. And someone emailed me the other day, and they said, they were telling me a little bit about their story, and they said that they're not a Christian right now. They're an atheist, but they're probably returning or going back, or something to that, something about like that. And then they asked me, do you think you could ever return? And yeah, that's a fair question. I smirk and laugh just because the answer is absolutely no. I mean, absolutely not. I could never see myself ever returning to Christianity. But just to finish out that little thought there, yeah, I mean, what could turn me, if anything? Well, evidence. I mean, right? Undeniable evidence, proof. Like, clearly, you're not going to get me by saying, well, Luke chapter 4 says this. I mean, that ain't going to do it. Obviously, I don't, uh, the Bible, isn't the word of God. And Christians, if they're honest, even would admit to knowing this, that it's clearly the word of man. Men wrote the Bible. Jesus didn't write anything down that we have today. So, when people say, Jesus said this, what about this? Jesus said this. Well, one, you don't know that Jesus said that. There is no eyewitness that's saying that Jesus said that. That's simply the people that have said it to so-and-so, who said it to so-and-so, who said it to so-and-so, who said it to so-and-so, some 60 years later said Jesus said that. So, come on. You can't trust that at all. I mean, come on, let's just be honest, right? That's just completely not trustworthy. And I mean, that's just, come on, be intellectually honest. I mean, clearly that's not trustworthy. So yeah, that's it for me. I mean, it's that simple. The only thing that could ever get me to reconsider would be, undeniable proof, and that's it. Other than that, no, it ain't happening. Um, sorry, I have a selfie stick here, and I'm trying to readjust it to keep it comfortable. Okay, how I handle that stuff. One, I don't get in debates online. That just gets mean and ugly, and it's not productive. And I'll be honest, it did take me a minute. It really did. It did. It took me a good minute to uh, be able to really have any kind of meaningful conversation with people of religious faith, um, without being irritated. you know and myself feeling, angry or agitated, and that was something within myself. Like, I recognized that I still have some work to do. How is it that these Christian conversations can so aggravate me? you know like, what is that? Like, what is that? Why am I getting so irritated, so upset at these conversations I'm having? And was it, yeah, what is it? Like, why is that? So I think I would just encourage you to go with, especially if you're agnostic, deconstructing, whatever, if you're in that camp, you know that you should ask yourself that, right? I mean, what is that? Why does it make you so upset? Now, I know I can hear you say this because I've been there, right? Like, I know what it's like. And it took me a while to work through dealing with specifically my religious family. That was tough because it's family, right? I'm not going to disown my family just because we don't believe the same. And thankfully, my family had a similar thought like that too. Like, they were, they weren't going to disown me, just because I'm not a Christian anymore. And it took it took a lot of conversations. It took a lot of time for us to be able to be around each other and have any kind of conversation, because typically religious people are also oddly highly politically charged, you know what I'm saying? Right? I mean, they're, by the way, cuss and discuss down below, some of the things I'm talking about. Share your story of what you learned and how you handle Christian love, aka hate, and what steps that you've found helpful. Maybe what books have you found helpful? Whatever you've found that's helpful. For me now, after probably a good year or so, my family just knows there are certain topics that if they are talking to me out of openness or curiosity, I'm down. Like, I'm down to talk about it. But when they start, throwing out Bible verses and start throwing out things that they believe to be factual or they believe to be absolutely true, with zero evidence, zero proof, nothing to back it up, and I could shoot so many holes in it. Um, that's why we had to stay away from certain topics. But if they're open and they're curious, I mean, I'll tell them. Obviously, I do videos telling my story. I don't mind sharing, what I think, where I am at now, and why I don't believe, and the problems that I find with religion and all of that stuff. And I did a video recently talking about Christianity as a cult. And it's a different kind of cult, right? For the most part, most Christians are, it's not a dangerous cult. Clearly there are a lot of dangerous Christian cults out there. Obviously, just look up any docuseries. You can find lots and lots of dangerous Christian cults out there. Yeah, anyway, that I did a video about that. It's one of my longer videos. In fact, it's 2 parts. I think the first video was 30 minutes, and then the next video was like an hour. So one is, you got to look within. I really do believe this. I believe that when something upsets you so much, when you're loving Christians are saying things that aka come across as hate, it's important that you are secure in your beliefs, that you're secure where you are, and also communicate and be clear and say, hey, listen, I though I respect your Christian beliefs, I'm not a Christian, and so I don't want to talk about this. I think I talked about this in another video when I did talking about how to deal with your Christian family. But the reason I'm doing this video is it's slightly different, because it's that Christian love, aka hate. That's it, it's because I love you, which is it's the most toxic love ever. Because if you boil it down, it boils down to, they can say that they care about your soul. They can say that they care about your eternal destiny. I mean, if you really boil it down, maybe your family does, but they don't. They don't. People don't. It's more of, I think that people who, and everybody deals with this, but they are their beliefs. You see this politically, when people politically align with any, one or the other. That's culty, in my opinion. I mean, it's like they can't even have a conversation with someone who doesn't vote like they vote. And frankly, I just find that, and that's even on the atheist side, I see people that just absolutely just uh, make out the other people as just evil, 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 and that's just not true. Like, that's just not true. Even in the little fun little things I follow on Instagram, where they go around and they interview like the worst of the worst of the worst on one political party, like, just they interview the most ignorant, the most crazy, nutbally, extreme, and it makes for great content, makes for great videos. I watch them, I laugh, but it's not a fair representation of all of those who vote that way. Or because the reverse can be true. You can interview people on the other side and just interview the 10% that are just complete wingnuts, and it would make the whole entire political party look like dumb wingnuts, right? So I don't know. I personally just I don't get into that kind of stuff. I can talk to anybody who voted for anybody. I'm just not that way. So that's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just wired that way, that I can have conversations, just like I can have conversations with radical Christians. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think their beliefs are ridiculous or moronic or whatever, right? I mean, I think that I make fun of those beliefs a lot on my YouTube, my show here, clearly. But we've got to be able to work within. That's I guess I'm ramming a little bit, but that's the important piece. You got to kind of look within. Why does this upset me so bad? Why does this stirring me up? Why is this making me angry? Why does this trigger me? That I've learned that through just therapy is well, what's in you that's triggering you? Like, why is that triggering you? So that's one thing I would say to do. And then sometimes I would just say, don't engage. There's times that I can tell, just don't engage, Timmy. When someone's talking about Bible stuff and Jesus is coming back, and sometimes I can have those conversations and I just end up not talking, surprisingly enough, where I just close my lip. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, nah, I'm not gonna. I don't want to stir the pot, and I'm not gonna say anything that they're gonna be like, oh wow, okay, you're right, yeah, Jesus isn't coming back. That's just not gonna happen. Just like I'm not gonna all of a sudden get on my knees and be like, lead me down the Romans road. I want to give my heart back to Jesus. Like that. That's not happening. So yeah, work on yourself. Don't engage in some conversations, and communicate in a loving, kind way. Just say, hey, listen, this is a conversation that clearly, you're trying to save me. You're trying to witness to me. You think I'm backslidden. You think I'm evil. And that's the thing, is Christianity, and sometimes I guess atheists do this too, maybe in a different way, but it's this othering. It's us and them. The reality is we're all human. Everybody's humans, and all humans believe something different, including atheists, right? There's a lot of atheists that I watch. I've seen a lot of atheists that I'm like, yeah, I don't quite jive with their jam. I wouldn't want to put their jam on my peanut butter sandwich. That's just not my flavor. Though, much of what they say I might agree with, but I don't agree with everything that I hear, even from atheists. So you can always appeal to someone's, what's that word? Their humanity, just appeal to their, hey, listen, I can appreciate that you have strongly, deeply held beliefs as it relates to Bible and God and Jesus and the way to heaven and all that stuff. But if we're not going to talk about it in a open conversation of, let's hear each other out. I'm curious what you think, and you're curious what I think. You're just wasting your breath, really. I mean, you're just wasting energy, wasting your time, wasting your brain power to get into things like that. So I try to stay out of that. I already mentioned staying out of the conversations. In fact, what's wild? So I still see Christian videos from time to time. My algorithm now, it's funny because here I am talking about all the things I'm talking about, and my algorithm will spit up, pastors and preachers and things, and that makes me giggle. And I'll sometimes watch it, and of course I roll my eyes, and it gives me ideas and content for my video. I'm like, I got to talk about that. Like, I got to talk about that, which I'm going to talk about. I'll do a video soon talking about rich pastors. We're gonna talk about that. But because I was in that camp for a while, and what I want to do is talk about it from my experience of what the belief system, what they believe. I'll give you some insight because I used to believe it. I'll give you some insights on why they think that Christians should be rich, which is typically it's not many people in the congregation. It's mainly the pastor and his family that end up being rich and getting private jets and wearing Gucci and Louis Vuitton, all that stuff. So, yeah, I'll talk about that in another video. So yeah, that's it. I don't know what else I can say. Cuss and discuss. Tell your story below, but just try to keep yourself. You got to protect your own mind, and that's what I was saying. I watch these Christian videos sometimes, and I don't leave comments. I mean, I have, right? I get caught up in the moment, and I'm like, I have to say that's not true. There's no evidence for that, or that's just not like that's just wrong. And your own Christian scholars would agree with me there, right? About no eyewitnesses wrote the Bible. It's all oral tradition passed down 60 some years later. I mean, that's a well-known thing, even for any studious Christians. Any intellectually honest Christians know that. They know that, and they have a way around it. I'm sure I'll cover that topic too. That's the thing. Christians have a way around, because I used to do this, right? I had ways around every objection, every anything that anybody could have said. I mean, I had a way around it. And so, yeah, I think that we should not get ourselves in those kinds of online comment battles. And as you've probably noticed, even in my comments, I get the Christians that will comment, and sometimes I'll reply, and I try not to be too snarky. I really do, sincerely. Like, I don't want to be an a-hole. I really don't. Yeah, even though I'm an atheist, I don't want to be an a-hole or a jerk. I want to be a kind, caring individual and thoughtful and all that. And I know you do too. And even, you Christians, you do too. But goodness gracious, y'all don't come across that way sometimes. You just come across so arrogant, so haughty, and so superior, so above, so elevated, that you have the ultimate truth of all truth, like you're in a relationship with the creator of the universe, and he loves you, right? But truly, I mean, if you want to get biblical about it, if God did make us all, then we're all children of God. Now, I know that what Christians would say is, well, yeah, but people like you, Timmy, you would be like a rebellious, wayward child of God. You've left you've gone out and squandered all of your family's wealth. You've gone out and lived lascivious, crazy life. It's so funny because I believed all that stuff too. When I was a Christian, anybody that left the church, and not just my church, but anybody that I knew about in the church, even when I was growing up, and they left the church, and you'd hear through the grapevine that they've walked away from the Lord. They've backslidden. They're a prodigal. All that. And none of that is like favorable. Like, none of that's good. And I mean, it is, but it isn't to them. Like, you can't leave a church and have it be for any good reason, unless you're leaving a church to go plant another church. Right? Like you got to stay in the religious belief system, but God forbid you not only leave a church but walk away from the Lord. I mean, just hearing that actually stirs up some feelings in me of of I know what people think about me. I mean, they say it in the comments, uh, but I also have some good Christian friends that will tell me. I even had someone told me the other day, said, my neighbor saw one of your videos and they're like, well, I didn't know that Timmy walked away from the Lord. Are you, how do you guys feel? Are you guys okay? You praying for him? I'll be praying for Timmy, that he comes back to the truth, which is what they believe. It's what they believe to be true with zero evidence, with zero proof, right? There's no, oh, goodness. So, all right. I again, cuss and discuss below. Share your thoughts on ways that you've dealt with Christian love, aka hate, and how you've handled it. Um, I'll close with this last thought. By the way, I have a Facebook group. It's free to join. It's just a group where you can hang out with other atheists, agnostics, those that are deconstructed, or those that have questions. If you're a a Bible believing Christian, listen, like don't even try to join. It's not for you. You know, yeah, just stop. Okay, don't do that. But if you're you know really seriously questioning your faith, your religious beliefs, and you want to be around other people that are either going through their own deconstruction at the time or seriously deeply questioning things or have worked through, like myself and other people that have it's been several years, and so they've gone through that deconstruction process and now they're more on the reconstruction side. It's a great Facebook group to be a part of. It's called Timmy's Deconstruction Community. It's a great time. It's fun. Also, I have a Patreon, which helps me do more videos like this. Uh, that's in the link in the bio. You can find that in my main bio of this YouTube channel. Last thing, okay, you just have to continue to educate yourself. I think what's helped me deal with Christian hate is outside of dealing with myself, growing myself, all that stuff. That's coupled with my reconstruction process. That's the key element there. I read a lot of books, I study a lot, I read a lot of articles, I watch a lot of YouTube, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it helps me in that process and in that journey because early on, I think I was having a harder time because anytime you become you untether yourself from some belief system or a group or a community, you do go through, and this is a very cult experience, is you do go through a season of feeling lost, right? Like, who am I? What do I believe? What is right? What is wrong? I don't even know anymore. You know what I mean? Like you do go through that. I went through that where I didn't know up from down. I didn't know nothing. I couldn't. I was having trouble like grounding myself in any way. It was just so hard. And you just got to stick with it. You got to keep learning, keep growing, keep digging, keep asking questions, and finally really finding other folks who in the Facebook group, finding other people that you can bounce ideas off of and talk to. And let me just say something, because this is very important. Within the Christian faith, they act like they all are in this one big club and they all believe the same thing. Clearly they don't. That's why there's 30-some thousand different denominations. Even Christians can't agree. I've talked to so many Christians that believe things all over the map. And it's the same with atheism or agnosticism or going through your own deconstruction. Listen, I don't think there is one way to think. I don't think there's just one way to view the world. like someone said to me one time, Timmy, there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. You know, there's a lot of ways, right? There, we all know of uh, you know, companies that broke all the rules and yet still succeeded, right? Um, I heard it said like this once, that sometimes when a company would build a new building, they would lay the sod down before they would build any sidewalks, because they wanted to see where are people naturally walking, and put the sidewalks there. And then the other philosophy or the thought is build the building, put the sidewalks in, and tell everybody to walk here, right? Both of those work. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they both work. It's just, what do you want to do, right? So, like I said just a minute ago, I don't align with every atheist. I don't align with every person that's gone through a deconstruction of their religious belief. I don't agree with all of their positions, all of their anything. I mean, we're all individual. We all have different life experiences. So, you know, I definitely don't promote that, hey, this is what I believe and you must believe it too. No, there's a lot of things. I mean, I can tell you what I don't believe, but I'm not going to tell anybody what to believe. In fact, there are people in our deconstruction community on the Facebook group, and they are they would say, "Hey, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual." That's totally cool. I was that for a while, and there's nothing wrong with people that stay there, that are like, "Hey, no, I just don't believe in fundamental religion or being fundamental in any way. I'm not a Christian." That's fine. Like, people, you can be uh, still spiritual. In fact, you know, yeah, you can, whatever. Like, we just don't demand everybody that you have to see the world just like I see it. And if you don't, then I ain't gonna be your friend. Again, you see that in politics, right? If you don't vote for the same person I voted for, if you're not, you know, then you ain't my friend. Now, if there's some extreme end of it, whatever, whatever. But I think most people, you know, most of my friends that voted the other way than what I did, they're not the extreme. You know, they had their reasons, and uh, you know, and that's fine. And we have a lot of other things we can talk about, a lot of other things that we have in common. We don't. I don't need to share. You know, I don't need them to be an atheist. I don't need them to vote like me. I don't need them to view all of life like I do. I find that personally just kind of moronic. I don't like that. And that's honestly, that's what I didn't like about uh, the religious views, is, you know, this is the way. Everybody must do this way and believe this like this and interpret it like this in order to be okay. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little walk down Brush Creek here uh, on the Country Club Plaza. Such a beautiful space down here. Such a beautiful Spanish architecture down here. Love living not too far from here. And yeah, guys, I always just say this because I just so much appreciate um, you, you know, watching the videos and commenting below, and yeah, appreciate your love and support. It means a lot to me. All right, peace, everybody.